Hi guys, welcome to our podcast Supposedly Adults, where we are four supposed adults sharing our quote-unquote youthful experiences.
Talking about the most random life topics.
Giving our thoughts that no one cares about.
And just trying to make life suck less.
That's right, so I'm Jensen.
I'm Melody.
This is Calvin.
And this is Lyris.
And today's random question is, can I Ching-Chong my fellow crazy rich Asians? Alright, hi guys.
What's up?
Hi.
Okay, so for this episode, I forgot who mentioned it, but we were talking about Crazy Rich Asians. So I guess like for our listeners, we decided that we're gonna talk or go more in depth about this movie / being Asians because we are all in fact Asians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm so passionate about this. I can talk hours on this.
Girl.
On the movie or like on being Asian.
Both.
Everything.
Disclaimer though, I've never seen Crazy Rich Asian.
Shame.
So even though I'm
take away his Asian card.
well, I mean, I'm 2/3 of it. If you think about it, I'm crazy. I'm Asian. I'm just poor, so I can't really qualify to talk about it. Anyways,
Actually, it's good that you like mentioned that. So I'm curious because like definitely the promotion for like Crazy Rich Asians when it came out was just like Asian cast, 25 years since the last full Asian cast movie. Did that like what made you or why did you not want to watch it or like for how long has it been? 2 years, 3 years? I don't know. No, just a genuine question. This is not a dig.
I don't know. I don't know you guys know, but I actually have no friends, so I don't really want to go to a movie theater by myself.
Internet.
Yeah. I think I watched it on the plane. I think that's if I'm not wrong, because like I know I did not want to watch it in the theater.
What? You have to support, man.
Yeah, man. Did you watch it in economy class or like
Of
first
course, I
class?
know.
Dude, I watched it twice in the cinema and once on the plane.
Wow. Okay.
I support, man.
Yeah, because my biggest struggle, I still remember when it first came out, I have such mixed feelings because I was like, oh my god, I really need to support this Asian representation in media because it's so rare. But at the same time, I'm like, why does it have to be about rich Asians? Because we already have that stereotype.
Same.
And why are we trying to reinforce it and making
we
it
do?
more stereotypical?
I agree.
Yeah, because you know how Asian... I don't know, because I went to Europe. If I go to travel in Europe, all the pickpockets seem to just target me because they feel like, oh, Chinese, Asian, you guys are rich. That's why I want to, pickpocket
But it's
you.
more because like you're identifiably a tourist.
No, because the thing is, if you go to school, right, and like there's like thousands of memes online where they're basically say ABG is one thing, and also how
International.
Asians, like actual international Asians, are always wearing like
Okay, yeah,
named
good point.
bags
Sorry.
and the LVs and whatnot.
What's
yeah.
ABG again? What's
Asian
ABG?
baby girl.
Nobody wants to address this boomer.
No, honestly, I don't know. Like, I have no idea, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, moving
Okay,
on.
but I just want to mention that like the reason why it's good that you guys are supporting the movie like for it being Asian and like therefore I guess it's being so popular. I think for me it's because like I like just it's more of a personal reason, but like I prioritize good movies compared to like I don't want to just watch a movie. Like it's like the same thing where like I don't want to vote for a female candidate just because I'm female. My logic is more of like if it's a good and intriguing movie, because like rom-coms is not something I usually watch.
Yeah.
So I just like, oh, the only reason at least I watched it was because like, oh, it has so much Asian hype, but I watched it on the plane, so that's why. Did you read the books, by the way?
I actually have the same feeling as Melody because in the beginning I really didn't. When it came out, actually even before the film, like when the book came out, I'm kind of like, ugh, is this again? Are we gonna talk about like this stereotype or whatever? And I had like really mixed feelings before I even went into it. So, but then I feel like okay, I'm actually those kind of people who I understand the point of like people don't want this to label it as the Asian film, and people are only talking about it because it's an Asian film. But then at the same time, I feel like in practicality or in activism, we have to vote with our money. Like that's the thing, right? Because we already have very scarce Asian representation or Asian like movies in Hollywood, and like the ideal situation is that we don't have to rely on that like there are so many Asian films, like, or like so many films with Asian in it. We don't have to make a big deal out of, oh my god, there's Asian in this one single movie. Like that's the ideal situation. But then now we only have like one, then we kind of have to like tell the like Hollywood that, because the reason why there are so few Asian representation is because Hollywood use that as an excuse, because Asian don't sell, Asian culture doesn't sell, Asian people doesn't sell. So we have to tell them that no, it sells. If you make an Asian film telling Asian stories, it will sell. People will want to watch it. And like, because we're in such an early stage of it, I am more inclined to actually like to like still support it, even if I personally don't feel I'm not attracted to, you know, like rom-com or whatever. But disclaimer, I really do like the film, actually. Controversial, I
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know if it's because I have zero expectations going in, because like Laris, I literally just went in to support. I expected it to not be a good movie. But then maybe because I have zero expectation, I actually came up like I actually cried. I teared up a few times in the movie. And I watched twice in the theater too. So I don't know, I actually liked it. But yeah.
Did y'all watch with each other?
We watched the first time we watched it with each other. Come on, bro. The first time we saw it together. The first time. Because don't you remember during the end credit, I was sitting in the theater and just like crying for 5 minutes as the credit rolled, and my mom and our mom were like, "What are you doing? Why are you crying? I don't get it. Like, what's happening?" And I'm just like, "There's just so many Asian in it." I'm just like so happy. And she was like, "What the hell, bro?"
No, but what's your verdict on the movie? Like you said, you prioritize good movies over Asianness. Yes. So do you? What's your Rotten Tomatoes score?
And also, you're Singaporean, so I think you are true. The Crazy Rich Asian that they're talking about. So you.
I remember I had a lot of different points talking about the movie. Suddenly, like right now, I can't remember them all. Okay, first and foremost, rom-com, I guess, like I'm not that much of a fan. I can't recall. We had a conversation like without a podcast, but we did talk about what rom-coms we watch. I literally cannot like recall any rom-coms for the life of me. The only thing I remember is The Notebook. So that's first and foremost a disclaimer. My criticism would be number one, the mahjong scene. Not really, like it's so symbolic, but I don't personally, as someone who plays mahjong, I don't think it's possible. Secondly, just quickly, going through like my points on the movie. Secondly, like the version of Singapore, or like the Singapore setting that they use in the movie is not really entirely in Singapore. Like the entire house is in Malaysia, but I think that was a common point that they talked about. And then lastly, Henry Golding itself is a interesting casting choice.
He is hot, come on.
But he's not too bad.
He's cute. Like I have problems with him, but he is
hot.
cute.
I think that's the problem.
Anyways, moving on, because this topic I'm not very comfortable with. I'm just gonna.
What is
I didn't want to bring in the topic about so Laris mentioned earlier on like the stereotypes of how like this is an Asian movie, and like I guess it's more of a segue to talk about what do you think, or does this movie perpetuate any stereotypes after watching it compared to what you thought it would do? And then like in general itself, entertainment in the entertainment culture, both perhaps in the US or like the more famous ones are always American Hollywood movies. What do you think the current stereotype of Asians is portrayed? Just in
Because
general.
I personally think I went in expecting a lot of really dumb stereotypes, but I went in appreciating this movie more because I do relate to stuff. Like for instance, the whole family dynamics. I think we spent a lot of episodes talking about the family dynamics that we have. You know, the family dynamics, and then there's also the so-called old money, new money, difference, because as I don't know, I guess Singapore and Hong Kong were both post British colonies, right? So I feel like, there is a difference, in terms of different Asian countries with different colonial backgrounds. I feel like there is a difference in how we are raised and how the culture and the values and all that. I do think this is like a very interesting nuance that they picked up on, which I really appreciated.
It's true though. It's just because I remember, again, this is a bit off topic, but yeah, the Crazy Rich Asians, just because I remember one time I was studying at school till pretty late, like midnight. And obviously, I feel like, and then there's a distinction because there's a group of people where they're like poor students, they're just studying at school, whatever, right? But I remember I was walking out with a friend, right, just out of the library, and all of a sudden there's like a Lamborghini just like parked right there with that license plate with all the eights number, like number 8. So for people that don't know, like
Oh my
8 is a
God,
lucky
my
number.
heart is
8 is a lucky number in Chinese, for Chinese.
It's similar to the word like, I don't know,
Like
rich.
rich, whatever.
like,
Yeah,
literally,
exactly, right?
literally
So
rich.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, if you on the street you see a car, like a fancy car with bunch of 8, like 888, 388, whatever, you know, I guarantee you, 98% has to be Asian. See what I did there? I used
Yes.
8 again, right? So it has to be
All of our
Asian.
parents have
Should
this
have
car,
been 88%.
but not the rich version. But like we have the car plate.
I know, but like, do you know how expensive the 888 has to be? Like, come on, man.
It's crazy.
Like, the car plates are expensive.
Yeah, and again,
Yeah.
for a
No,
listener that
actually.
don't know, this is crazy because my uncle in Hong Kong, he is the one who deal with like license plate and stuff. I know like in Canada or like America is different, right? But in Hong Kong, license plate number is such a big thing. So like Lyra said, like if the number like 888 actually bid up to like a $1 million, it's like a status. So
Yeah.
those are how you show that you are the crazy rich Asian. It's just based on license plate. So I thought that was
Well,
kinda
maybe not
interesting.
rich, but just like people who have a
Or
car.
crazy, actually. Or people just crazy. Why would you spend 1 million?
Yeah. Okay. Crazy.
Yeah, no, but I do think so. Do you think that there is a stereotype of Asians being very superstitious? Or do you think that is actually real because we're making fun of it? So is that actually is there actually truth to it?
I think that's how I feel about most of the stereotype. I think that's the thing, because like I also like really hate that people put me in a box, right? Because every time I go like travel or whatever, they like come talk to me. I think they're trying to be nice. I guess they just come to me and just go ni hao, and I'm like, well, it's good because I am like Chinese. If you say that to me, although it's like kind of different language, but I'll be like, okay, fine. But then there's like arigato and all of that, and we're like wrong kind of Asian. Like, why do you just assume like that's like a stereotype, right? But then, and also they actually real story. They just come up to me and be like, oh, you guys eat dogs, right? And I'm like, not really. She's like, no, you guys eat dogs. I know. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, oh, what do you study? And then like one of my friends like, oh, I study business. And then that guy was like, oh, you guys don't have to study that because like Chinese are already really good at business, so why are you studying business? And we're like hello. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, I definitely get what you mean. Because going back to your example, I've also heard a friend said that. I don't know why you're offended or you don't feel comfortable when people come greet you in a different language. They just don't, they just can't tell and they don't know the difference. But the fact that they wanted to come to greet you, it's a sign of wanting to get to know you or whatnot, right? So it's like a nice gesture. Like, why are you so butthurt? I guess
Yeah.
is like the gist of it, right? And then the other thing would be, the eating dog stuff. I hate it when people assume that all Asians eat dog. But lately, I just met this Indonesian and they actually eat dog. I was holding onto my Labrador and was like, do you think he'll be good? And she literally said that, yeah, the Labrador would be a great dish. I'm like, yo, that is crazy. But I guess stereotypes, the interesting thing about stereotype is it's always based on some truth.
yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna get me into a lot of trouble for saying that.
Okay, just a very interesting point. I thought like eating dogs and like cats, I thought it's like illegal nowadays. Like it's like supposedly illegal
I don't
in I don't know about
I don't
Indonesia.
know. They say they
Yeah.
eat dogs and cats because it's cheaper than pork and beef.
Yeah, no, they're saying that pork and
Oh,
beef,
okay.
they're all so expensive, so they just go to the
Back alley.
back alley and they can just get a dog for free. That's why they get meat for free. That's literally what she told me. I'm like, okay. That is gross, but I kind of see what you mean. Like, I get where
Yeah, I
you're
get where
coming
you're coming
from.
Like back alley, as in sneak into your neighbor's house, and then that's how
No,
you
no,
get
like
your.
actually like
No, like stray
Oh.
dogs, stray dogs and stray cats. They're like, it's free.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, I kind of see where you're coming from.
Oh no.
But to be fair, okay, I am not defending eating dogs. I'm not defending eating cats. I am Asian. I do not eat dogs. I do not eat cats. I don't want to do that. But also, what's the difference, to be honest, with eating pigs and cows? We also kill them and
It's
we eat
true.
them. They're still meat and they're still live. So to be honest, And also,
And there are pet pigs.
and pigs are freaking hilarious, freaking cute. Have you seen pigs? They're so cute. I
And smart. And
yes,
smart.
and they're super smart too. So like, why aren't you okay? Some people are still advocating not to do that, but some people like I still eat meat. Then why am I judging other people for eating dogs and cats? Sorry, I don't want to go into the stereotype.
That's a different topic from what we're
Sorry.
currently discussing.
Sorry.
Maybe a quick answer would be like domestication. But anyway, moving on and going back to the stereotypes thing. I think for like the numbers when we all laugh, there like what Melody said, there is some truth to the stereotype, and therefore it's something that we can all relate. Maybe it's not to the extreme that like perhaps some entertainment or some media like to portray it as like, oh, we must have an 8. But like there's a spectrum, there's a reality. Like for me, I can say that I am considered superstitious where like it will affect like mild behaviors, or like when given a choice I would want to do it. Like for our parents, they would choose car plate numbers, or like they will purposely buy car plate numbers that have the number 8 on it. Like for me, when I'm in some number one Singapore, you can't buy car plate numbers, but like people like my parents will always compliment like when they take their friends out and they see like, oh, they don't have like the bad quote unquote bad numbers on it, they'll like compliment it's a good number. Like they'll tell
so
it to their
cute. I
friends.
love
And their
that.
friends are like so shocked.
so cute.
Even though we're all Asians, but it's just like, oh, some people treat it much more seriously than the others, i.e. my family. And then it also brings on to the fact that like when I went to the UK and I first got my handphone, because I can't like choose my number, so I told them like, oh, can we have like more numbers, can we like to review and like see. So I actually chose the number which I want to make sure there's as many 8 as possible, and then like as many like unfortunate numbers. So like unfortunate numbers to us is
4,
like
right?
the number 3.
Fours.
Fours are okay. Like we have different
Yeah,
reasoning,
okay.
but like I'm also not gonna get into that. Basically, what I wanted to say, the stereotype ranges, but there is some truth to that, as evident by my family. And then for like the other stereotypes of like, one thing I wanted to talk about, like the stereotypes that the entertainment representation always includes, that when they say Asian, they often mean
East Asian.
Chinese, Korean,
Oh, full
Japanese,
on.
like East Asian.
Yeah.
But like they don't include Southeast Asian, they don't include
South Asian.
South
Yeah.
Asians, Middle Eastern Asians. I also don't know where to categorize them. So like I think we are in a common consensus that when we're talking about Asians, we're talking
East
light
Asian.
yellow
Yeah.
Asians, I guess.
Which is bad.
Which is, I don't know whether it's good or
I'm
bad.
not
but
even yellow. Okay, anyway, sorry.
It's like the word Asian, I guess, is just so encompassing. And then lastly, to the point where when people like come up to us and say like, ni hao, the thing is that I'm okay when people come up, like, honestly, when you think about it, no one really comes up to someone in a foreign country. Like, if you're in a foreign country, I won't come up to you and try to speak your language unless I'm actually fluent in it.
No, and
So
it's also like
it's
I won't
like-
see a white person and I go bonjour and I immediately assume she's
Exactly.
like French.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah. So it's more of like the intention they have, because more often than not, people will actually come up and like, Asians are everywhere. You know that like there's a high probability that an Asian in your country can speak English or can speak your native language than compared to like if you go to that Asian country or wherever you go to.
Yeah.
So I will slightly get offended, especially when they're like not even friendly, when they're not like a student, or like it's like when they're really coming in a very derogatory
Yeah, for
or
sure.
like
Like funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
humiliating-ish manner.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what Jansen said, and I
Asian
was going to
said.
say what Asian said.
Okay.
Which one?
Shade.
Dude, if
I'm
you're
sorry.
white, you're canceled. Bye.
Oh no.
Hashtag
Time to tone down.
cancel.
no, but actually though, because no, I completely get what you mean, and sometimes I would get turned off or like offended or just uncomfortable when, let's say, in my home country or whatnot, people kind of reduce me to just Asian as a whole and assume that can also be Taiwanese, and I could also be Japanese, and I could also be Korean. I do feel uncomfortable with that, but I also notice a very interesting and ironic thing, because when I went to the US, so I went to the US for my master's studies, and when I went to the US, when I become a minority, I actually realized I kind of band all Asians together. So when I'm there and whenever I see an Asian person, I just immediately feel more related and more close and more bonded. And I just like them more, right? And I want to get to know them more. I want to talk to them. And it would go to include, let's say, Southeast Asians or, South Asians. So I just find that very interesting, because then am I doing the same thing too? Because when I'm abroad and when I'm a minority, I tend to ban all Asians as,
my people.
us. My people, exactly.
Yeah, I
Don't claim them.
No, I think that's the thing I was going for. I think I didn't finish what I was saying, because I was saying
Shade.
like the stereotype thing, right? Because a part of me is like, I understand stereotype is generalizing. It could be very harmful to different people because they just reduce you to that stereotype. But at the same time, I am proud of some of the stereotype, right? So for example, the whole subtle Asian trait thing, whole subtle Asian dating thing, the whole thing, like, it's like just like bonding over stereotypes and bonding over common experiences. That's basically the whole thing, right? All the memes are very stereotypical. Like, if a white person said it, it's gonna be a huge thing. But then we are still very much like holding on to these stereotypes because it gives us a sense of identity, and it, like, so I feel like it's a very tricky thing, because, and on one hand, like, identity, or like the socially constructed, like, race kind of categories, they divide people and they generalize people, but at the same time they also, like, unite people together. Because but that's the thing, because I feel like every single identity or every single community is created through policing what is not in the community. Do you know what I mean? Like, instead of saying like what we have in common is what we have, what we don't have in common with the other person. So now we're in a group because we're different from that group. So I feel like that's very interesting, because it's like, then is identity like a good thing or a bad thing? Should we keep that? Should we not have any of the identity so that we all get along? Or should we still have that so that we can have some sort of community?
No, I actually want to hear more from Calvin and Jansen on that too, because unfortunately, me and Lyris were just boring Asians because we're
Asian in Asia, so that's kind of boring.
Yeah. So I guess Jansen experienced, let's say, being Asian, being in Hong Kong, being in Singapore, and then now being the Asian in the UK. And Calvin grew up, as the Asian in Canada, right? So what is
Hong
Asian?
Kong and then Canada.
Okay, fine, whatever. I
Excuse
guess there
you.
is the identity difference there now. No, but what is the experience like for you guys? What does Asian
No,
mean
this is
to you?
interesting though. But it is funny because as when I first moved to Canada, when I moved to Canada, I was 13, right? And I was just keep telling people, yeah, I'm from Hong Kong. Like, I always like hold on to it because obviously that's where I grew up, right? And I was like, oh, Hong, just tell people like, oh yeah, I'm from Hong Kong. But then as I'm going through, and then I don't know, I felt more and more part of being the Canadian culture, and I will still hold on to the fact that I'm from Hong Kong, but at the same time, I'll also like, kind of feel like I am a Canadian. It's just because now actually coming to the point where I spend half of my life in Hong Kong and half of my life in Canada now, right? And I don't know, it's just interesting. It's just because I felt like in Canada, I always have the freedom to hold on to like, oh yeah, like obviously I'm not like absolutely from Canada, like I've been in, because a lot of my thinking is influenced by Hong Kong, like the Chinese culture. But so to me, I felt like that's how I identify myself. Like I'm not never gonna go completely like, oh, I'm Asian and that's it, right? But at the same time, like I can kind of mix both of them. I felt like I get the best of both worlds. I don't know if that make any sense. And that's why I've never really feel out of place. Like, oh, I'm the only Asian in the group. Because I used to do that when I was younger. I was like, yo, I'm the only Asian in the group because I'm coming from a farmland called Manitoba. So if people don't know, it's just basically flat and farms and white people everywhere, and I'll be the only Asian in the group.
So fun.
And then now I moved to Toronto, where there's a lot more Asians now. So I don't know. But you know what? Now, this is interesting. Now I think about it, I feel more at ease in Toronto just because they're more Asian. And then there's white people, but there's also more Asians. So I feel more at ease. I feel like, yeah, I'm part of the country now instead of just feel like...
Yeah. I wanted to ask, like, because you mentioned you being the only Asian on the farm, do you have that burden of like, oh, I'm the token Asian, I need to like carry my race? That
that's
kind of
so interesting. You know what? Maybe.
Is that why you prefer Toronto?
No, actually,
Yeah.
no. I quite. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Because okay, so this is funny. It's just because I used to. Okay, again, this is such a Manitoban thing. So I used to be on the tractor team. So you guys don't know, tractor is a thing. A
Sorry,
tractor, right?
Oh.
So tractor is
Okay.
a vehicle being used in a farm, and you like pull
No
and put
way,
farming on
wait,
that.
really?
It's crazy.
When you said that, I'm like, wait, is it like a tractor team?
Yeah, I used to be on the tractor team where I built tractors, and at the beginning.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought like it's like a team, like a club at school, and you guys just like gather after school and be like, oh, who rides a
That's
fast?
actually
Wait,
what they
it-
did.
Okay, and
We gather
Yes,
after
it's like a
school.
student. It's like student
Student group, and we design
like
tractor.
interest group.
Yeah, like
Oh.
Yeah,
it's-
at first when you said tractor, I heard track
No,
and
no.
field. So now I'm thinking of like, I honestly thought tractor, like, you guys have a relay race with your
Hey,
tractor.
this is
Like,
guys. This is Asian stereotype to its finest.
It's so
Asians do
interesting.
not know anything about
I'm-
tractor.
Of course, we ain't got land here. We
Yeah,
like
what
to
the
know.
Okay.
But yeah, exactly. I went to that same emotional journey. I was like, oh, the
So
track
cool.
team where you run.
No,
I'm like,
no.
wait, tractors? You mean the car? I'm like,
That's
the group
so
where you just
funny.
like, you know,
That
like
is
just
so
like who
funny.
mows the grass
Okay,
faster.
but
I don't know.
building tractors are still cool. Building tractors
Building
just as
them.
cool.
I like, just
No,
ride
okay.
them. Like, oh,
No.
look,
I was
right?
on
But
the
yeah,
tractor
picking
team
up
as a quarter scale tractor. So we basically a student
God.
engineering team
love
with
Canadians.
design tractor, okay? And this is definitely a Manitoba thing because a bunch of my teammates are farmers. They actually grew up in the farm. Anyways,
great.
so when I first
love this
joined,
story
majority of the
already.
people are like they're all white basically. So I will be the token Asian. But to me, when I'm in that situation, I always play to the Asian stereotype, right? So let's say Asian stereotype gonna be like oh, very math oriented, right? So I always try to like be like, yo, I suck at school. So I'm like trying to like always try to defy, like, I don't know, in a way, defy that stereotype because Asian's supposed to be nerdy, supposed to be good at math,
You're
supposed to
on
be
the tractor
like,
team. What are you?
But
What
dude-
are you trying to
okay, you guys
defy,
don't know.
bro?
Wait, yo, okay. The thing about tractor is all farmers, right? And the thing about farmers, they're all drinking. There's always 5 o'clock somewhere in the world, which means at 5 we start drinking. But since there's always 5 o'clock somewhere, which means you can drink
So we
all
always
day.
drink.
Now, this one thing. It's about I can't really do anything about it. It's like I got the Asian glow, so when I drink, I always get turned red right away. So that's one thing I can do. But I don't know. Like I feel like yeah, you to Jensen's point though. Like I do play up to it. Like when I feel like when I'm the token Asian, I always play to the stereotype. Always make
Like you
yeah,
defend
and then
it,
also
right?
try to also at the same time make fun of that. And like I don't know, being
Claim
the
it.
token Asian, I
You need to do what
always
you
make
do.
fun of Asian people. I make fun
Yeah.
of white people. Be like, yo, what are you gonna do about it? Because I'm the token Asian. I can make fun of my own race, and I can make fun of white people because you're the majority. I'm the minority, right? So I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm a racist, but I am a racist. I guess I'm a farmer. No, never mind.
It's
Never mind.
that you're like appreciating the races and like you're noting the difference, but you're not like judging
Yeah,
it
exactly.
because like, oh, you are this because
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel so passionately about what Jansen just asked because I felt exactly the same. So when I was in Philly, where I did my master's, I was the only person from Hong Kong. So I literally felt like it's so dumb, but I was so stressed every class because I feel like now I'm representing, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there is this stereotype of Asians not speaking up in class. So I made it a point to at least speak twice in every single class, just so
Yeah.
that I defy
Different
it.
type of Asian.
Yeah,
It
I
was
don't know. I legit feel like I'm carrying the,
Oh, yeah.
the
No,
whole
it-
Asian identity with me, which is
No,
ridiculous.
it's a thing. It's called like the burden of representation. Like minority always feel like they have the burden to represent.
Whoa.
But sorry, I have a small story about
Damn,
like.
that vocab. Not ready for
That's
that.
the only use of my BA
Whoa,
degree
whoa.
when I, like,
Yeah,
just
our
go
listeners
on-
are getting the coin today.
Anyway, I also like I'm very aware of my Asianness in like I went to exchange in Paris, so I was always very like aware of that. But I was guilty of using my race card that one time to get out of things because I was talking to my teacher and the teacher was kind of like telling me like, they're like, oh, I feel like you're not talking in class enough because I feel like you can speak up more or whatever. And then I'm like, oh
Hating
shit,
when
because like
teachers do that.
I know I am not good at speaking up, and I'm like, because I didn't do the readings and shit, so I'm like, I don't want to talk. But then I was like, oh yeah, because I'm from Hong Kong, and you know, in Asian countries, we in class we usually don't really speak up, and that's kind of the culture. So it's really hard for us to adapt that, you know, because we don't usually talk about. I know I felt so bad for using it, but I had
bring
to.
it
I had to,
down.
man. I had to.
Dude, all of us are working so hard here. One step forward, three steps back.
And then,
yo.
and then
Not
the French
cool.
teacher was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense now. Okay, I understand. I understand." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel
my
so
God.
bad."
But this is so funny. So I don't know. I thought this was so funny because some like you said, right? Now we hate the stereotype. Like hate that,
Yes.
oh, Asians are nerdy, Asians are like whatever. And then
Yeah.
at the same time you play up to it to get out of trouble. Like I just
Yes.
feel like it's such an interesting dynamic. Like why do we
Yeah.
do that all the time? I
Yeah.
don't
It's either we like
Such
lean into it because
disgrace.
that's like where we find our identity. For example, like with loving boba or like loving rice, people love leaning into like, oh, I'm so Asian because I love to eat like I like to drink boba and I like to eat rice. Like we lean into it because it's like our core identity, but we also lean into it to get what we want, right? Because that's like the minority thing. They always like when we like apply for things, we always like talk about our minority so that we can get more shit.
Yeah.
Like
So I guess that's true. Like at the end of the day, basically we just the stereotype or not, we support it or not. It's just if it benefit us, then they're like, yo, we're gonna play into it. If it doesn't, then they're like, yo, I'm offended. So like whole notion of being stereotyping or being fit into the category, it doesn't matter then. Like the whole notion of it because it's just based on can I get something out of this? If I can't, like, I'm offended. But if I can't, yes, I can get something out of it. But like, yo, I'm the full-on Asian mold right away. So I guess the whole thing about stereotyping or the whole identity thing, it just basically means nothing then. It's just as long as you can be beneficial out of it, get benefits out of it. So it's just kind of interesting to me.
Wait, it means nothing, but you should get benefits out of it? Wait, can you clarify that?
No. Like, sorry. I guess make it clear. It's like, you know how sometimes we're like, oh, I'm offended because I'm being stereotyped, but at the same time we lean into it. You feel like we can actually get something out of it, get the benefit out of it. So to me, I just felt like the whole thing about being offended or being accepting, like this is who we are and all that. The whole thing, it's just all based on, I guess. It's all based on the situation. It's all based on the scenario then, because as long as we can get something out of it, we don't care. But if we don't, we'd be offended. So like the whole thing about that, it's all in our head, like whether it's good or bad. That's what I meant.
Okay, I feel very uncomfortable with what you just said.
it's not though. Like
Yeah, no, okay. I agree parts of what you said. I think I agree in the sense how a lot of things is socially constructed because and it's arbitrary because what I said regarding why is it in Hong Kong is the only Hong Kong Asian or whatnot. There are different types of Asian when I'm in Hong Kong, but when I'm in the US I kind of band all Asians together and feel like, oh, my people, right? So I feel like that is the arbitrary bit of it, but I do not condone taking advantage playing the Asian card. What card? There is no card to being Asian.
Okay. Let me.
When
I
you're a
feel
bad
like-
driver, maybe.
I
She is.
I mean,
I think no. Okay. So
I don't know
I
that.
actually.
I don't know. Sorry, continue.
So okay. The first thing is like I
Speak of
Okay,
bad driver, you can drive the
okay.
conversation forward.
Do you want me to?
no,
Okay,
okay,
I would
okay,
just go. Let's just let Livis finish her point first.
Oh, okay. Sorry, okay. For the Calvin thing, like I agree, like stereotype in itself, it's socially constructed and whatever, but it's not just like in our head, right? Because there's real life consequence to stereotype. There's like real life harm, it's not only like, oh, you need how to be and I'm offended, and like it's not just that, right? Because stereotype leads to a lot of things. Stereotypes lead to like a narrow career opportunities or whatever, or actually to like real hate crimes or legislative policy that would actually affect your life. So stereotype is not only like in our head. I think there's also real life. And I also don't I really feel bad for using the race card and whatever, and I don't think that anyone should get benefit out of it. But also I feel like sometimes because this society is already rigged against a certain way, and then we already have the stereotype, and that's how the society works, and that's how a lot of people work. So we kind of have to, right now, because we can't like unchange every single stereotype immediately, so what we have to do is just we have to use what we have, right? So sometimes, like, you know, in America, they like play up their minority cards so that sometimes they can get something that they cannot get because they are minorities, right? So they have to play that up to get by, to just get by, right? So I think we can't fault some people for doing that. Obviously it's not like ideal, but you just have to,
like, you have to be aware of it, right? And like don't try to misuse these minority opportunities,
obviously,
like for your, I guess, too much. It's a very I get what you mean. It's a very difficult like position where you have to put yourself into the tiptoe across. So let me just move away from the conversation that we're tiptoeing around now and go back to Melody's original question, which was about our individual Asian experience. So as you guys have already shared, every Asian has a different individual Asian experience, and I guess for the four of us, we are fortunate enough to grow up in a mostly homogenous society in Hong Kong, and I guess that informs us.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I had a lot of advantages in exploring different types of Asian backgrounds and cultures, I guess, in the world. So for the Asian side, being born in Hong Kong and identifying myself as Singaporean, that's a very big difference, because somewhat we are sister cities, but like in a sense we are like really worlds apart because of, you know, recent that kind of issue.
Controversial.
And we also have our different racial makeup, so Singapore being much more diverse. But besides demographic itself, education would play like a really big role, or a big reason why Asian experiences would differ from in different cities or countries. So because of Singapore's education, it's a bit more Western educated, or at least it's what we pride ourselves of having. So it has on some certain issues will be a bit more liberal, but like in terms of governance, it's also conservative enough to govern ourselves. Yeah, I'm trying to be really cautious with whatever I'm saying. Because of that education, I'm also able to delve a bit more into Western entertainment. I feel for me is that, I identify myself as a nationality. I'm Singaporean. I also grew up in an international school, so that is part of it. I feel like I can enjoy whatever I want. Like, I have Asian stereotypes, but at the same time, I feel very comfortable and very fortunate to blend all my different interests together. Like, I'm learning different languages, Spanish and French. And again, I like all these different types of, like, not popular music, but like it's something I enjoy. I just don't really see why people hold on to like being Asian so strongly that it kind of blinds them from trying to understand the different, like, I think it only becomes dangerous when you don't want to understand the other culture, when you don't want to understand anyone else, when you're just so focused on, okay, I feel like we mentioned this in a previous episode, but like, yeah, that's that common idea which I have. Just why are we holding it on? How are we holding on to it so strongly?
Thanks, Jensen. I think that's what I was trying to say is whether is that's like, no, like honestly, I was
Yo, welcome.
yeah, thank you so much. No, like I wasn't meant to like, oh, is it? I guess my main question is like, if should we hold on to our own identity and then kind of like, oh yeah, this is it, and then use that to define us, or should we just kind of like let that part of us go? Like we can still think that, yeah, I'm Asian, I still have my core values, but at the same time, it. Like my core value doesn't necessarily mean it's right? Because other culture can also have different values. They could go back to a point where I always think that, yeah, I'm Hong Kong, like I'm from Hong Kong, I grew up with all the Asian core values, but at the same time, let's say now I kind of blend into the Canadian culture. Like I realize, oh yeah, it's all about we're fighting freedom. It's all about expressing yourself instead of, all that. It's like every culture have the different, I guess, like the good side of it. So to me, I felt like it's just always kind of take in everything. Instead of just being confined to by like one identity, you can expand it and just become instead of being a citizen of Canada or citizen of like Hong Kong, you just be citizen of the world. Like you just kind of blend everything. You learn, just try to improve as much as possible.
That's just very cliche and cheesy. Like I'm a world citizen,
No,
global citizen now. But anyway, no, but I completely see what you mean. I guess it's growingly being more difficult because of how integrated all cultures are. Like, how do you even draw a line? I guess that's when cultural appropriation became such a big thing in the past, is because, how do you even draw what is my culture, what's your culture, when everything's borrowed? Like, is noodle and pasta from the same culture? Like, is it Italian? Is it Chinese? We could talk 1,000 years. We can debate a lot. Yeah, it's from China. They got the idea from us. But see, the thing is, I got your idea, but then I changed it a little. Is it still your idea?
Italian was considered Asian, or Italian was considered black like a few decades back. Isn't that crazy? Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess that's a trivia.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's growingly being more difficult to define a culture and an identity, especially because we have different cultural exposure and being at different places as well. And going back to the idea that, identity or culture or whatnot, it's kind of just arbitrary. Like, how do I define Asianness, for instance? Or do I belong to the Hong Kong identity or the Asian identity? It's all fluid and it's all very very arbitrary. So I guess the main takeaway for me would be, like what Jansen said, you just have to be more empathetic and try to understand other cultures, but not try to, I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to put this. But I guess not...
I'll try to help you if you word it. But
not being too fixated on one thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Being fluid is my takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I don't know, for even when people are curious about Asian culture, I remember because I'm in a dance team, then we have different cultures. We'll always just bring the non-Asians to the Asian food stores within the city, and after that just tell them, oh, we love eating rice. I don't know, just that sharing of culture, which I think makes life so wonderful. And then we can talk about food and whatnot, and talk about movies, and talk about Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
No, I feel like we're very passionate about this, and we could say more. And I feel like Lyris has so much to say, and you're just vomiting.
Yeah, I have so much to say.
I don't know. Comment if you want to hear a part 2. We'll consider if we want to do a part 2. So let us know. And also go like our Instagram page and our Facebook page. It's supposedly adults. Yeah, right? It's called Supposedly Adults. Go check it out and go like all of our posts. We have very funny memes and emojis and whatnot. So go do that and comment and tell us what you think and whether you want to listen to a part 2 of Being Asian.
Smash that like button, leave a comment down below, tell us what your thoughts are, and we'll see you next week. Okay.
Bro fist.
Mic drop.
What else do you...
No,
sorry, copyrighted. Okay, bye.
Yeah, he doesn't do Superwoman.
One love, Superwoman. This is a rap one. Okay, goodbye.
I love it.
It's so chaotic.
Okay, it's the Wong Fu weekend. Are we throwing all Asian related stuff
we'll
now?
continue this conversation on being Asian, but I think it's pretty comprehensive what we have said so far.
Cool.
Bye.
See you guys
Cheers.
soon.
Cheers.